Good morning, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy. I hope you're doing well today. So today I want to talk a little bit about the World Mother and more information that I'm learning and more information that I found out. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of the first cities in the world called and Uruk, U-R-U-K. Well, you know, the word means dog. It means dog. So was the city of founded by dog people? I think it was. I think it was. And it goes back to the Enuma Elish, where you have a character called Dimu, meaning mad howling dog, or Langdon's gruesome hound. And so this was a Mesopotamian creature with a human-headed dog man. And they say that this might be during the Kassite period. And then they had a complementary character that was the opposite, just like polarity, called Ugallu, U-G-A-L-L-U. It sounds an awful lot like Rougarou from Louisiana. Well, I've been waking up like 3 or 4 nights this past week with the word Akkadian. They're telling me something about Akkadian. Not Arcadia, but Acadia. So I'm like, what does that mean? So I start looking up Akkadian stuff. Akkadian, and how does it correlate to my family line? So I start going back and I start looking up Akkadian. And so for some reason, I started thinking about Melungeon people. Melungeons were people that came from Appalachia, and a lot of them ended up in Louisiana. And there's a connection between the Melungeons and the Akkadians. So then I started thinking about Lafayette and Lafayette's relationship with Thomas Jefferson. And so Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson were actually related. They were related. And I think that I had did a story about how Lafayette I'm pretty sure it was Lafayette, had sent a letter to Jefferson because he'd seen a UFO. He had a UFO sighting in Louisiana. But, you know, a lot of it has to do with these people's bloodlines. It has to do with bloodlines. So Lafayette is related to the Randolph family. So I'm like, okay, well, that's not surprising because they were literally related to everybody that was in power at the time, in politics and government at the time. It was because they knew things that other people didn't know. They'd been to the mystery schools. Well, as you start going through this mythology more, you start realizing that there's breadcrumbs everywhere. And the Akkadian people and the Melungeon people are connected. And when you try to do a deep dive on them, you get a lot of obstacles. It's like history hid. So there's more coming on Akkadian. The Akkadian people and the Melungeon people are old bloodlines, and they go back to cryptids, just like my family line goes back to cryptids. We go back to wolves. Okay, so the next part, 26,000 years. Every 26,000 years, there is a procession of the equinoxes. And when that happens, the wolf mother comes into line up Polaris with the North Star. Okay, they marked this 26,000 year procession everywhere in ancient times, in stone structures, in stone circles, in all kind of buildings all over the place. There's a place that will line up with the equinox. And the reason that they were so mindful of watching this is because they wanted to know when the mother was coming back. She comes back every 26,000 years for her harvest, okay? We're in harvest season right now. I already knew this was coming. I just didn't know the extent of what the harvest was. My grandmother told me that we were in harvest in 2008. So what this means is that when she comes every 26,000 years, just like clockwork, her polarity also shows up every 26,000 years in the South Pole. In the South Pole, it is Hydra. Hydra is her polarity. So you have the snake, a small snake from Hydra, And somehow or another, this ties in with the star system lupus. And I'm still trying to figure out how she became the world mother and how she's related to Polaris. But I know that I went to the North Pole, and I know that I met her there. And I have been talking to her on and off ever since the Lunar New Year. So how it works is that every 26,000 years a harvest comes. If you are a soul that's been on the planet and you have been performing like the law of the Ray Collective, the law of one, if you're following the universal laws, if you are in service to others 51% of the time, and that you are evolving spiritually, then you qualify for harvest. It's promotion. Basically, it's a promotion. However, if you do not, if you are in 51% service to self, you live in the ego, you're still in your lower chakras, you will be harvested by the South Pole, So this is the way that I'm personally understanding it, is this is why you have all this iconography in ancient times where they're fighting with snakes. They're fighting with snakes, the snake. See, and maybe that's why they have the whole snake thing in the Adam and Eve thing, was because, you had these two polarities that were competing against each other. This is a polarity experiment, right? And you have, obviously our forms were morphogenetically changed from our original animal forms. And so for some reason they were really going for this human look, but they started out very different. And some of these people survived the cataclysm. They survived the cataclysm. They tried to wipe them out because they wanted to get rid of all of the old junk that they didn't want to keep around. They just wanted the new prototype on the planet. They only wanted the new prototype, which was this human looking form. And maybe that's because when they came to the planet that they wanted to have, the ultimate experience here, because Earth is basically like a school. It's like a vacation place. It's like the Garden of Eden. They want to come here because you're living in the paradise in a physical form and experience and pleasure. See, this goes all the way back to the original thing that happened was sex. It was sex. Sex is what happened. Sex is what messed up the polarity experiment. Because of sexual activity, a lot of hybridization happened, and then we got a lot of malware codes. So in a nutshell, this is what happened. So every 26,000 years she comes back. And they've been marking this forever in the landscape. And there were people that survived the cataclysm. And Noah's wife, Lamech, she was from this wolf line. She was from the wolf line. And the wolf genetics showed up quite a lot throughout these ancient times through Noah's line. All of these people in the Bible that have these stories about hair and about murdering their twins and all this, you can go back and follow them back, their lineages, and you'll see that there's something that alludes to wolves. So then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was during ancient times, when you had the Anunnaki that came here, and they came during the time of Atlantis, because that's when Atlantis sunk. They were doing a lot of these genetic changes on the form. They were taking these animal beings that were already here that had souls in them, and they were intelligent animal beings. The wolf line came from the world mother. Okay. All right. Well, one of these groups of lines were the Basque people, and this is why the Basque people have the highest percentage of Rh negative blood in the world. And they are an ancient group that goes all the way back to Atlantis. And Robert Seffer talks extensively about this, and he's an anthropologist. And all of his work, he does extensive research on everything that he publishes. He's wrote many books too, and they're all very good. He talks about the fact that the Basque were one of the 4 original groups that came from Atlantis. And it shows that some of them from Atlantis went into the Celtic lines, and they were the Gaelic people. They went into the Celts. You had some of them that were the Basque people, and they're where they are today. You had some of them that went to the Canary Island, and then some of them that went to that were in the Iberian Peninsula. So you had, well, actually they went to Greece. The Iberian Peninsula were the Celts. So anyway, the interesting thing that he talks about is he talks about the Basque people. And then we all know that the Basque people have the highest amount of Rh negative blood. Well, one of the things that I got from the World Mother was to look at her genetics. And her genetics show that most humans share 80%, some more, with Canis lupus. 80% of our DNA is similar. The other thing is that they fail to mention is that they talk about rhesus negative and monkey correlation, but they don't talk about the fact that Canis lupus, the gray wolf, and different wolf species do not have antigens on their blood cells, and that they are predispositioned to have genetic problems as a result of it. Okay? There are many people in my family that don't have these antigens on their blood. And it's a lot of the same genetic problems that happen in wolves. So you have to ask yourself the question, what is it that we're not being told? What is it that we're not being told? How is it that we can have family lines that don't have antigens on their blood, that have mythologies that they come from wolves, and they believe that they come from wolves? These are the Basque people. They have a legend about coming from wolves. Okay, it says that in Basque mythology, that they believed in several different wolf deities, but they believed that they come from wolves. It says right here. They believe that they come from the she-wolf. So, I mean, this is fascinating to me. Fascinating. They had man-wolf monsters. They had a wolf mother. And they believe they come from the wolves. So, I mean, this definitely deserves more research on it. It deserves more research on it. And Eric von Daniken, I think that's his name, he is a German guy or a Swiss guy, or he's from the Alps. But anyway, he talks about the creatures. You have to go and look at some of his work. He wrote, he has a bunch of books that he's wrote, and I can't think of one of them off the top of my head, but I have them on my Audible, and I've been listening to him. And it's true that there were many other compositions and creatures that they created before they got the human form. They had some that was totally wolves. They had some that had wolf heads and human bodies, and wolf bodies and human heads. And the wolf mother, she has a human head. I don't know what the rest of her body looks like because she keeps it hidden in fur. So maybe when our relationship develops more, and maybe she's waiting for me to not totally freak out like I freaked out when I saw the bird lady. But, you know, and she'll reveal it to me in time. I'm kind of thinking that maybe she might have serpent legs. I'm not kidding. I think that she might have serpent legs. I don't know. We'll see. And when I find out, of course, I'll tell you. I'll tell you everything. I'm going to tell you everything. So with that, I mean, this is, and you know, I don't know what to say. It's so obvious to me, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. They think I'm crazy. So with that, when you come and find me, I'll be here, because we're living the past, present, and the future all at the same time. So don't forget to get outside today and give thanks to our Heavenly Father and the Divine Mother, Mother Earth. She is here right now, lined up with the North Star. She's here right now for her harvest. So, I don't know. Love to hear what you guys think about it. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.